Hey guys, your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. I always have a bad habit of going to sleep late and then waking up late. I think it's probably because of my anxiety or depression or stress, or it might be because I have too much caffeine at night and stuff like that, and my addiction to tea and things like that. But yeah, I woke up really late and knackered this morning. Knackered meaning tired, for anyone who doesn't know the vernacular or whatever that is. Anyway, this is another one of my football videos. I know I'm a bit obsessed with doing list videos. In the intro, I just wanted to mention, just say this kid was going to a friend of the family who was going to the seaside. So I asked him if he could bring me a stick of rock, and he brought me this rock. I thought I'd cover that as a funny joke in the intro. I thought it was quite, I sort of laughed when he brought me this rock. Yeah, that's him. Anyway, these are my dreams for a football team or soccer team for any Americans out there again, in Italy, as a big Italian football fan, called Juventus. So yeah, I thought when my brother's gone out to shop, I'll try and make a video, hopefully, and finish it before he comes back, so he doesn't disturb it, because he's a bit of a pain in the neck. But yeah, so yeah, sorry if I'm waffling, but as ever, so here goes. So number one, as with any Italian teams, I'd love for them to get as much investment as possible. Yeah, to get as much investment as possible, as I wish for all Italian teams and Celtic, as I often say. Number two, I would love for Juventus to learn from all of the possible teams, including like which teams have won like the Champions League or World Club Cup and things like that. So what they can learn from winning teams, as well as like what mistakes they can avoid as well. And like again, I'd love them to have as much funding as possible. I read that the people who own Juventus or have like hundreds of billions, but the owner is said to have like $19 billion. So I wonder how much money the club could spend on players and transfers and youth development. I think it's also important to develop youth and things like that. And again, look at what teams that have won for like teams that have done well for 5 or 10 years, teams that are consistent as well, like what they've done to develop, like how they could develop that. Although I suppose they could always buy overseas players, but for the national team as well, it'd be great to see. As a fan of Italian football generally, I know if they got lots of money, they could just keep buying players from other teams. But I think, depending how much money they had, or have, I think English teams they spend a lot of money buying overseas players and things like that. So if you look at how many trophies England's won nationally, it's not that many. If you look at the club teams, they've won loads because they just buy great players like Mohamed Salah and players like that. Or Ronaldo or players like that. So I suppose they could just buy players, but for the good of the national team as well, and for the good of Italian football, I think it would be great if they also developed younger players. But yeah, I would love to, if anyone could share, as ever, one question I'd ask for this video is if anyone who knows about financial fair play, F.F.P for short, like what amount of money could Juventus spend legally? What would they be allowed to spend due to financial fair play? Like what's the maximum amount? Could they actually spend £1 billion on players, maybe over a certain amount of time, like Man City did, or other teams, without getting banned from like the Champions League? Again, main thing I'd love them to do is win trophies in Europe or internationally, like Champions League, World Club Cup, things like that, as a fan of Italian football generally. So that's my view on that one. Number three, I'd love for them to have at least 3 under-21 players, on that note, in the at least 3 under-21 players in all possible games, all the senior games, so that it can develop more players again for the national team. And I'd love for the Italian government and politicians to support football in Italy, football development, by offering tax incentives and things like that. Maybe the league could offer, tell every team. I'd love for Italian teams to be tax exempt or pay as little tax as possible and get state funding even. And maybe like there could be a lottery in Italy, like £1 a ticket, and however many people buy that ticket, the winner gets half the prize money, and the other half goes towards developing football in Italy and things like that. So like buying football pitches and supporting local football teams or things like that. Or each region could have their own lotteries and things like that as well. So I'd love to come up with that. As a creative dyslexic, I often come up with ideas like that. But yeah, I'd love to see them have at least 3 under-21 players and pay at least the amount of tax possible legally, and be given basically tax exemption status, and get as many investors as possible. As I say, I'd love for all Italian teams with my quirky sort of ideals. Number 4, again, I hope they will win as many trophies as possible and keep winning trophies like in the future. Maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, I'd love to see them win like the Champions League and the World Club Cup and the Super Cup, perhaps even, and like have as many great players as possible in the club, and yeah, just win more things and do as well as possible. Again, learning from different teams and things like that, and have as much funding and spend as much on the squad as possible. But again, have a balance between buying overseas players or even players from Italy, but who are a bit older, but also have a bit of youth and as well as experience, developing the youth as well. Number 5, I would love to hear from Juventus fans about what they would love to see the 5 to 10 year plans, how they think they can contribute to the rest of Italian football, like the national team, for instance. Again, developing younger players and having 5 to 10 year plans, and whether they would love to see, whether they think it's more important to buy better players for success in the short term, or develop youth, or a bit of both. So yeah, I'd love to hear any opinions, especially from fellow Italian football fans or Celtic fans, and or especially Juventus fans in particular. Number 6, I'd love for them to have as many sponsors, investors, and that sort of thing as possible, even possibly local fans or any fans of Juventus, maybe like donating to the club. Maybe it could have its own, like I often think of like Italian, a quirky idea of mine is like Italian teams to have, and possibly Celtic to have its own, maybe it already does, but or they already do, but there could be like a special bank account where whatever money goes into it is reinvested in the club. Excuse me. So it's like, it's yeah, so people could donate. So if a fan knew that they were going to donate like £10 or €10 or whatever, or $10 or whatever it is, to their football team, that they would know that it's going to be spent on whatever football team needs to spend money on, like buying better players, developing the youth, or whatever other costs a football team might have, including possibly the foundation, the charity work and stuff like that. Number 7, I would also love to see a partnership with Celtic, and as I say, for all the Italian teams to have, and for me to get my train of thoughts out, but yeah. So a lot of time I'll go onto YouTube or Google, and I'll type like Celtic Juventus, so it's like trying to tie them together more, and or bind them together a bit more, and like help both to trend at the same time. So like killing two birds with one stone. So I hope that by typing in like Juventus into the search engine, into Google or into YouTube, will help with the help it to go viral and trend and stuff like that, or whatever. So that hopefully that will raise the brand value as well, and like the market share and share price and things like that. So I hope that will benefit both clubs in this case, as well as talent teams generally, as I say, financially as much as possible. Number 8, I would love for people to find out about the passion of Juventus, and also as Juventus's kit is in black and white. I hope people will find out about Juventus as well and have an interest in Juventus. But as Juventus plays in black and white, I would love for them to symbolically represent diversity, peace and love, positivity, anti-violence, and things like that as a club, and that sort of thing. Number 9. Again, I would love to see them have 5-10 year plans, and I'd also love to hear from Juventus fans like what would they like to see Juventus achieve within the next 5 to 10 years, as well as the club, like talking about what they want, the owners of the club, the manager, maybe even the players, talk about what they hope to achieve with the club within the next 5 to 10 years, which I think should reassure fans and make them feel good about that. Excuse me. And number 10, I think that it'd be great, talking about development of the youth, and how it'd be great to build academies and give young people opportunities. Always play at least 3 under 21 players, maybe even more. Play as many young players as possible. Play the youngest possible squad, but with a bit of mix of experience as well. I think that a reward for good behaviour, like a reward for certain people behaving well, especially in Italy itself, perhaps, or particularly in Turin, but maybe even around the world. A reward for staying out crime. Maybe Juventus could work with politicians and that sort of thing to say, if you stay out of crime and you behave yourself well, if you behave yourself, sorry, then you can get to play for Juventus, or you get to train at the academies as a reward for good behaviour. So that would be something that where the club is encouraging positive values. Again, I'd love to hear what you think, and I think I timed this video quite well, and I am out. Peace and love.